Hi, and welcome to the Media Analysis Podcast, My Unfilters. Today, we are going to speak on my new film, Until I See Her Again. We are going to discuss how my film follows, but also challenges conventions, and also how it represents different social groups and issues in a significant way. I want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, True Self Collective. They created a teen journal that has a physical copy as well as an online copy that has guided journaling methods, daily affirmations, and mood tracking to build up their confidence and help with easing tensions from peer pressure. Once again, thank you, True Self Collective. Now let's get into today's episode by first discussing what my film, Until I See Her Again, is about. The film is a mix of drama, action, and fantasy. The main characters are three seniors in high school who are essentially revolve around senior activities such as college visits, prom, graduation, and all the things that come with being a senior in high school, who's filled with excitement, but also fear of what's to come after. Caitlin is the main protagonist, and she has lost her mother a couple months before the current time period. She is filled with grief and makes a wish with a genie to spend more time with her mother before she dies. But her and her friends then have to fight through hoops like time travel to make it back to the current time period before the day is over, or they will be erased from the time period and forever forgotten. My film uses a mix of the genre conventions from fantasy, drama, and action in the film. One convention that was seen was the use of magic through the use of a genie. The genie helps to establish the element of fantasy that is seen throughout the entire film. This also is inspired from the movie Twilight, with the movie characters mainly being vampires, to show that similarity between the two fantasy film movies, which helps to illustrate the conflict that arises in these films. My film also frequently uses close-up shots to represent the vulnerability that comes with being young and full of so much grief and stress. The use of close-up helps to show how Caitlin essentially fakes her smiles and happiness with others. But when she's by herself in private, she's constantly haunted by the ghost of her mother's presence in her life that's not there anymore. This is very similar to Sweet Magnolias, using close-ups to establish emotional conversation and the vulnerability that was shared in those conversations. My film also shows elements of action through the use of an thrilling pace and dramatic sounds such as the almost heartbeat that continuously goes faster and faster when she finds out her mother is gone. This is similar to the film Theory 7 that uses music playing while the characters jump out of planes and go through bombs. These differences show how one is a physicality impact, but one is an emotional impact. But at the end of the day, these decisions affect the characters for every moment that came after. My film follows the conventions that come with this genre, but also challenges them. And Until I See Her Again, there are no elements of romance whatsoever compared to the film Twilight, where its main storyline focuses on romance. The removal of this element helps to avoid teen girls' films always being centered around love interest, but can instead focus on Caitlin's wish and her grief and her independence. In Furious 7, it focuses on a lot of action-based things like explosions from bombs and a whole bunch of guns, while my film is filled with minimal physical conflict. These differences help to show that silence can bring in realism and tension without being loud or over the top. These comparisons help to illustrate Steve Neal's theory that films should have similar aspects when they are in the same genre while still being unique and different, so that viewers aren't tired of the same things being repeated over and over. This use of my film highlights the drama and fantasy while still minimizing action, helps to illustrate that good stories can truly be understood and truly felt to be real and reflective to one and each other. Now let's get into the second part of the question. How does these comparisons reflect on groups or individuals. My film revolves around 3 teen girls. Our use of the teens' main conflict being emotional, focus on grief rather than the physicality that comes with relationships. Illustrate that the girl focuses more on herself and her independence and her as an individual, which helps to illustrate that at the end of the day, she is still just a girl whom is hurt. Which connects us to a Hall's theory that media is a power site for life to gain meaning. This is reflected in the film through the use of each girl having their own set of thinking and not just being followers, but instead leading each other to home at different times in the film. Claudia Lee Strauss's theory connects to my film as well. Strauss' theory is called binary opposition, where he believes that everything is in relation to the opposite of each other. The genie represents Caitlyn's essentially facing the truth of her not being ready to grow up without her mother, while she was showing fake happiness to her friends every day. This shows those oppositions of her reality versus the dream and bliss she wishes she still had. At the end of the day, I believe that Until I See Her Again is the perfect presentation of the feelings of every teen girl, even if it's not grief of a lost loved one. They experience grief of all the people they found along the way, the grief of their childhood, and many other things that come with growing up and having to leave that people you knew behind, so that you can succeed in your passion of curiosity of that moment. The genre conventions were very clear while still allowing for the film to be realistic and different from the similar films. Meaning is everything. You guys will hear from me again in our next media analysis podcast. Catch you again, Mind Filters.